Welcome to WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. And now, here's your host, Randy Harris.
One of the mainstays around Winslow for the last 100 years, and usually we use that term loosely, but in this case, it is not an exaggeration. For the last 100 years is Marilee Hume. Marilee was born in 1926, and she and her husband Ernie were two of my first friends when I pulled into Pike County. In fact, I interviewed her dad, John Russ, on WFPC Radio in 1988 for Veterans Day because he was the last surviving World War I veterans. Marilee carries on that tradition. She is with us a lot, and we have a lot to discuss today. Welcome, Marilee. 1926. That was a few turns around the sun ago.
A few.
What do you remember from those early years? Do you remember the 1930s? Do you remember the Depression era?
Yes, I do. I remember, I wouldn't have known at that time it was the Depression. My dad had a store in Simtown, or Cole. I remember being a toddler in that store. I remember that we had, Pike County had new coal mines opening up at that time, and a young couple came and couldn't find a place to live. So Dad and Mother found room for them in our store. So Mother she expecting me, she needed help in the grocery store. And the husband of that couple was coming in to work at the mine. He was a shovel operator or some such job. So I was around 2 or 3 years old, and when Mother and the lady were both busy, I could get into most anything. So one day, Lola, the lady that was working for them, found a mushy cookie in her store. Now, this wasn't just any cookie. This was a graham cracker-based marshmallow with chocolate coating. So it made quite a mess in her dresser. But that's where I...
those are still one of my favorite cookies. I call them pinwheels. Those are great.
At any rate, it was a general store, much like, say, a Casey's today, gasoline, grocery store, but also a farm feed store.
You had a few dry goods too, didn't you?
Yes, dry goods, fabrics.
A general store, like you said.
Yes.
Your dad told me one time that he had the first refrigerated meat case in Pike County.
Yes, I've heard that before. And I think the second one in Pike County was at Arthur, in the brick buildings there.
Yes.
Dad's twin sister and her husband owned that grocery store.
Really?
So Southern Pike County was coming right up.
They were on the forefront of technology.
Of taking care of the meat, at least.
There, and in the introduction, I said that you are a mainstay since 1926. However, I think there was a brief period that you moved to Florida when you were really little.
When I was 3 and 4 years old, over a period of a year and a half, my brother and I had most of the childhood diseases. I had diphtheria, measles, scarlet fever, maybe mumps. At any rate,
In 1930, that's pretty serious.
yes, 29. Oh, yes, children died. Many children died of any of those diseases, especially measles, and I think diphtheria. Burdett, one of the Burdett boys, I don't know whether it was Dean or Pud, but the family, Burdett family, was in and out of the store. One of them went to Princeton at night to get medicine for me when I had diphtheria. So that had to be serious. Remember, we did not have Highway 64 then.
Didn't have old 64. That I think it came around in like 37 or 38. So
The roads back then were not as wide as they are now, and they didn't have as wide a shoulder. The car lights were not bright. They didn't shine out to the side, and they weren't very bright going forward. And the roads were not as smooth as they are now. Going to Princeton in 1929 or 30 at night, middle of the night, was not a minor trip the way it is now. So that man was going
above and beyond. But it probably saved my life. Nowadays we have vaccinations, which has saved many lives through the years. Oh, for 80 years. For a long time. So he took that trip to Princeton, and like you say, that's not a half-hour trip anymore, or
No.
It wasn't then.
It was not an easy trip, and this was easy at night.
Wow.
Again, dim lights.
1930s, the country, the world was in a depression. You didn't really realize it. You probably, having that general store and farm supplies, you probably had food to eat, didn't you?
Yes, I didn't go hungry. A lot of people did. In fact, sometimes babies died because their mothers did not have enough milk to feed them. They couldn't afford a good enough diet to keep the adults going, and sometimes the babies died as a result of the mother's poor nutrition.
I assume you lived at Simtown when
Until Dad gave up. I was 4 years old, and we went to Florida that winter, hoping that Dad and Herbert and I could recover our health. That winter in Florida was cold and damp, but we did have a Florida. I remember a very little bit there. We lived in an upstairs apartment, and we were across the hallway from a young couple, and every day a black lady came upstairs and went to that young couple's apartment and took care of their little baby for them and did other work for them. She was not hired. Her grandmother had been a slave for that young couple, and she felt she had to take care of that young woman.
But she felt the obligation to take care of that family.
Yes, she did.
So you leave Florida and you come back to Pike County.
Yes.
Did you go back to Co or Simtown?
No, we went for a time to my grandparents which was not very far from Cole. It was still in southern Pike County until for a time, and then my parents bought a house next to some land that Dad owned, and Mother went back to college for 1 year and got her teacher's license back. When Mother graduated from high school, she only had to go to college for 3 months to be licensed to teach elementary school. By the time I was 5 and she wanted to get her license back, she had to have another year of college. I think 2 years total was what was required. So we lived 1 year in Oakland City while she went to college and got that license. Then we moved back to Pike County to a house next to land they owned. And Mother could get a teaching job every second year. This was the Depression. And the township trustee who hired the teachers in those days would hire Mother only every second year because she was a woman. And you hired the men if you had a man available.
Did they have a rule back in those days, or I guess prior to that, where they didn't hire married women, or at least women with children?
I don't know about that. I don't remember anything about that. It may be that was part of that trustee's reasoning.
That's interesting.
At any rate, Dad still wasn't working for a few years.
Because of his health?
Because of his health. Until he saw that advertisement about the insurance agency that was for sale. Now, the only things that were insured was property, homes, farms, and such. Automobile liability insurance was just beginning. And so that was where he began selling new policies to people. They were getting their very first automobile insurance policies. This would have been about 1935.
Wow.
When he bought that agency.
And that agency was the Russ agency. It was in Winslow.
Yes, it was.
Did you move to town at that point?
Not until I was a sophomore in high school. I was in second grade when we moved back to Pike County, and I was a sophomore before we moved to Winslow. So Dad drove the 3 or 4 miles from home into Winslow daily. At that time, Winslow had a McCord Auto Sales, which sold Ford products, and several other businesses.
It was a booming place. So if you're a sophomore in high school when you moved there, that brings us up to about 1940, about the beginning of World War II.
1941. We moved to Winslow November 7th, 1941.
Wow.
Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941.
Wow. I assume you remember Pearl Harbor.
I remember our surprise, yes.
Were you with Ernie at that point?
I knew him. I had known him. He was in my class from 7th grade on up. So yes, I knew her and Ernest at that time, and we were pretty close friends. But then
I noticed in the yearbook, his yearbook quote was "Merrily we roll along."
that was the song. Of course, merrily, MERRILY, meaning happily, and that was sung to me from the time I was a toddler. Merrily we roll along.
That's
over
great.
the deep blue sea.
1940s. You graduate in 1944.
Yes.
Ernie goes into service.
Yes.
And at that point, you two were, I assume, boyfriend and girlfriend?
We were engaged.
Okay. So you're engaged. You're preparing for a life together, merrily rolling along, and the war starts.
Yes.
And he feels the obligation, very patriotic man, to serve his country.
Well, even if he didn't feel it, there was no choice. Every young man knew that if he was able-bodied, he was going into the service, unless he was in an excluded occupation. Newspaper publishing was required occupation. Ernest did not have any trade. He did not have an occupation. He just graduated from high school. It took quite a lot. Sometimes a farmer would be exempt from service if there was not a big enough family to take care of the farm. But usually they went also, either required or volunteering. My high school class only had 44 members in it. And before we graduated, 8 of them were already 18 years old and in the service. So at our high school graduation, there were 8 empty chairs representing those 8 members. And I'm happy to say that all 8 of them came home alive from the war.
Wow.
That was not the case with every family or every class, but all of our boys came home alive.
That was just a different era, different period of time, wasn't it?
It was a different period of time. We always, there was an edge. We did all the silly things and happy things that teenagers do, but there was always a little tension behind it because of the war. A little uneasiness because we knew that any time we might hear of some friend who did not survive. My own family, the nearest we came was a long lifetime family friend was brought down in over the Yangtze in China. But that's just my one family's experience. I had one brother, Herbert. He was in the Air Force. He was grounded because of his health, but he served as a radio operator, I think. He was stationed in England. Ernest served in the European theater. He was not in the big, he was not there on June 6th, but he was in the Battle of the Bulge. He went to Europe on his 18th birthday. He arrived in Europe, and he saw only one freeing of the freedom in the concentration camps that the Nazis had, where there was so much cruelty. Ernest witnessed only one of those. He said it was not as bad as some of them, but the prisoners were they were starved, and they couldn't, the soldiers had their instructions. They knew that the prisoners couldn't stand a good meal right off the bat. They were fed a few drops of Coca-Cola to start, just a little liquid to get their systems beginning to digest the food.
And get nutrition back in them.
Right.
Slowly.
Right. A little bit of sugar and stimulation and liquid.
Boy, some of us today, we have no comprehension of what that generation went through.
I think not. I'm afraid that our younger generation does not, as you said, comprehend what it was like. We had the newsreels coming. We did have some movies. We didn't have television, but we attended the movie theaters, and we had our pictures and news items in the newspapers. So we knew what was going on. We knew there was a lot of killing. We knew there was cruelty. Even before the war, we heard what was going on in Germany. And it was, of course, we definitely knew about the killing of the Jews and the belief that the German population, the native Germans, were superior race. The Aryan race was what they were talked about. Hitler was elected by the people, and he used the church also for his propaganda. So it was something. Germany had been a prosperous, I don't know whether it was democratic or not, but they did have elections. So it was a type of democracy before Hitler took over. It is it's hard for young people to realize that if they have not made a good study of World War II and the period before it.
It's right there in our recent past for them to study it and understand it.
Yes.
Your generation, and I give Tom Hanks, the actor, the director, I give Tom Hanks credit for tagging your generation as the greatest generation.
Spielberg.
Oh, Spielberg? Okay. I was thinking it was Tom Hanks, but...
Well, he may have had something to do with it, but and he may have coined that phrase. I'm not sure about that. But Spielberg wrote the books about the generation. I don't remember their titles now. I have them, but I haven't. I can't I lose words.
So what is the difference between your generation and the ones that have followed?
My generation gathered at Leo Williams' restaurant on Main Street in Winslow. We had a Ford Motor Company garage. Beginning about 1940, there was also a Pontiac garage south of the river. There were two grocery stores. There was a grocery store on Main Street and one on Center Street. There was one on Goose Hill and one over in East End. That's at the end of the street, east of where the community center is now. We had a high school. I graduated, as you mentioned, from Winslow High School. We had a movie theater. We had Snyder's department store, of course, and it was a department store at that time. They sold groceries as well as furniture and other furnishings. We had a pool hall, at least one. We had the bank was the First National Bank, and it was located where the town hall was until they moved into the old bank building. So a couple of years ago, where the town hall was, that was the First National Bank.
You had the Winslow Dispatch, the newspaper.
Yes. The what is now the Press Dispatch was the Winslow Dispatch. We had two mortuaries, the Curtis mortuary and the I don't remember the other name, but we also had lunch. We did not have a cafeteria in the school. We had two lunch rooms. One was associated with the grocery store next to the school buildings, and the other was it was a grocery store also, and a lunch counter.
But that's where the kids would go during lunch.
That's where we went for lunch, or we carried our lunch in. I did first one and then the other, but as a sophomore, by the time I was a sophomore, I didn't go home for lunch. I either ate at the lunch counter or took my lunch with me.
We'll be right back. But first, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsors.
This is Kyle Hathaway with Hathaway Excavating and Rock Yard. We have the equipment and crew to take care of your earth moving needs, septic installs, and digging out what you need dug out. We also deliver rock, and we maintain and pump septics. We're just a couple miles away. Call Hathaway Excavating at 812-582-2646.
Recently, the real estate market has been unpredictable, but at Harris Real Estate, we still have clients looking for homes and properties. Let us help you sell your home and or property and or find your next one. We're local. We know the business. We know the community. Harris Real Estate has listed and sold hundreds of properties right here. Harris Real Estate, 812-380-1065. And when you wash your car or vehicle on a regular basis, there are many advantages. You're easier to see, you preserve the life of your vehicle, help maintain its value, protect its paint, prevent corrosion, and it just looks better. It only takes 6 quarters or your credit card to get it started. Stop by Petersburg Car Wash today. Petersburg Car Wash, home of the springtime yellow Mustang. 401 South 9th Street, Petersburg. Thanks to you, our audience, WFPC podcasting is growing. Since the first episode was launched May 28th, 80,000 views, including full episodes and social media views, have come in, and it's growing. People are coming back and watching the original programs for the first time. We appreciate you. If you have a business or product that you would like to advertise, and if we're a good fit for each other, contact us, 812-354-2006. Thanks again for watching. Did you listen to big band music at the time?
We had, we didn't have our iPhones, obviously. Yes, we listened to big band music. I'd probably name some more recent ones if I try to name them now.
Glenn Miller.
Beg pardon?
Glenn Miller.
Oh, yes. We heard Glenn Miller.
It sounds like a wonderful time to grow up. Other than the looming war in the background.
Aside from the war, yes, it was a good time. Families were close together. Communities were close together. We kids had a lot of fun together. As I said, we did even with the war going on, we did our teen things. Sometimes things we shouldn't have done. Sometimes got a little bit reckless. The speed limit during the war was 35 miles per hour. Can you imagine teenagers abiding by that speed limit? But gasoline was rationed. And the 35 mile per hour speed limit was partly to force us to conserve gasoline. I guess that was the main reason. I might mention that a lot of our employment was in the Evansville war plants. Evansville was manufacturing airplanes and a lot of other things. A refrigerator plant became I'm not sure what, it may have made bullets. That was one of the things manufactured in Evansville. But our people rode buses. Old school buses were repaired and made serviceable and used to haul employees of the war plants from Winslow or other areas in Pike County to the war plants, mostly in Evansville.
And then bring them home at the end of the day.
And brought them home at the end of the shift. 3 shifts.
Because we might not have had the vehicles or transportation if they didn't provide it.
Right. For one thing, gas, as I said, was rationed. You wouldn't want all of them driving a separate vehicle. You could get 18, 20, 25 people on a bus, and the bus would not use as much gas as that many cars. So the employees rode old school buses to work.
Do you remember what you were doing when you found out the war was ending?
Ending?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was a sophomore in high school at Indiana University. And yes, I don't remember specifically. I think I was going from one class to another when I learned it.
So IU, Bloomington, I'm assuming that was pretty euphoric in 1945 to learn that the war was ending.
Yes, it certainly was. Especially when my fiancé would be
coming home,
hopefully. Remember that the end of the war in Europe was what I was looking forward because that's where Ernest was. But Japan was still going. We still had a war with Japan. So Ernest's unit was expected to go to Japan. They were making their plans to, fully expecting to, but then the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Ernest got discharged earlier on that account because the war was over. Things went a little bit strangely when he came home. I was not at IU at the moment. I was in Pennsylvania visiting my college roommate. So Ernest came to Winslow, and I wasn't there. He went to my dad's house, and my dad took him to his house. His parents lived in the country, and my dad took him out there. And when Ernest got home, there was no one there, and no furniture either. His dog met him, though. He had a white, mixed-breed, shaggy-haired dog named Buddy, and the dog welcomed him with open barks, but there was nobody there. So he walked. They had moved, and of course, he had been en route for 10 days or so. He didn't know it. He walked 2 or 3 miles to his sister's house, and they took him to where his mother lived. And
His sister, was that Dolly? Or
that was, I think that was Mildred Selby.
Okay.
It could have been Virgie Wade. I don't remember which one it was. But anyway, the dog moved when Ernest moved.
So Buddy, even though Ernie was gone, the family was gone, Buddy stayed at the house until Ernest returned.
He did.
Wow. That's fabulous.
And Buddy came with Ernest when we got married.
I bet. That is an incredible story. So, you're in 1945. When did you did you complete your education at IU?
No, I'm sorry to say, like millions of others,
Right.
I dropped out.
Well, you had other things going on back home in Pike County.
Yes, we got married in April of that year, 1946.
Okay.
About 3 months, he got home in January, and we got married in April.
That was 80 years ago. That was 80 years ago. So what did you got married in April? What did the two of you do for employment?
I did not work regularly away from home until our son was a sophomore in high school. Ernest, his first job was at McCord Auto Sales.
Washington?
Winslow.
Oh, Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Okay.
Remember,
yes.
we're in
I'm with you. Yep.
He had some experiences there. One time, I don't understand it, somehow a tire blew up or something and knocked him for a few feet. One time, he did not sell a new tire to a person instead he repaired it. You have to understand, you could not get new tires all during the war.
Ration.
Well, it took, gas was rationed, tires were unavailable. you patch the inner tubes, you patch the tire, and you patch the patches. When tires became available, Ernest had not adjusted his mind yet. He was working for a garage that sold tires, but he still repaired that tire. So he was scolded for that. I'm sure he didn't do that again because the car owner would have been glad to have a new tire instead of a patched tire.
Funny.
As we all would have been at that time.
So where did he go from McCord's garage?
I believe the next employment was at Evansville at a manufacturing plant. They were manufacturing refrigerators.
Servel, maybe, or something like that?
It was not Servel. I'm sorry, I can't remember. It was the. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but they manufactured refrigerators, and that's about it at that time.
And eventually he came back to the Postal Service?
Yes, in just 2.5 years. Well, in 1948, he began carrying mail.
Okay.
And he carried mail for 33 years until retired.
And when was your son born?
He was born in 1947.
Okay. So and if you stayed home until he was a sophomore, that's 61, 62. Is that when you went back to work?
I think about 63.
Okay. And so we've talked about the 30s, we've talked about the 40s. Tell me about the 1950s.
1950s. Okay, I graduated in 44. 1950s. Okay, I was a housewife, wasn't I?
Right.
We had, well, by that time, there was, we had pretty well recovered from the war, which means we had everyone, manufacturing had resumed of all the household things. You could buy new refrigerators, you could buy new cars, you could buy new everything. In the 50s, to tell you the truth, everything was going along so smoothly, I guess. Maybe that's the reason. I can't think. We had we had a lot of new songs in the 50s.
New styles.
Beg pardon?
New styles of music.
New styles.
What did you think of when you saw Elvis?
Well, I'm one who wants to hear the music more than see the motions. And Elvis wasn't as bad as a lot of the others. Some people like a good bit of motion to go along with the music. I don't.
You know, from that era, and I watch his videos on the phone, Pat Boone is still making music.
Yes. Yes, many of the stars of that era, they lasted a long time. Mm-hmm. Many of them changed. They adjusted their style. Maybe they changed the styles. Maybe they were at the forefront of changing the type of music or the type of dances along with clothing styles. They changed as other things changed.
Then we get into the 1960s. That's different yet.
Okay, 1960s. I'm in my 40s. I was still a housewife.
President Kennedy comes in. You've got Vietnam is starting. The world is, we've got the Beatles.
Yes.
It's this world just keeps on changing, doesn't it?
All right. 1963, I began working at my brother's insurance agency.
Okay, the Russ agency.
Yes, it was still a Russ agency.
It wasn't long that became the Hume agency.
Well, it was several years. 19.
Did we go into the 70s?
Yeah.
And then Ernie, when I came here, when I moved to Pike County, and I would come in your shop, you were in front of where the library is, and you sold insurance. Ernie fixed things.
Okay. Ernest worked 33 years for the Postal Service.
So that brings us up to about 1981.
30 years of repairing television sets, selling microwave sets, selling television and microwave. Of course, microwave was new at that time. And this, he spent 30 years as Pike County Emergency Management Director.
You know, the program that aired what is now last week, it was with the emergency management director for Pike County and the one from Warwick County, and we spoke of Ernest. Ernest came in when it was still civil defense.
Yes, at that time, they really had no training. Just a little bit of information given. The Governor By, I believe it was at that time, had tasked he did not do it, but his Lieutenant Governor, okay. I'm sorry, I had trouble training. Right. Lieutenant Governor was tasked with building up emergency management in the state of Indiana. The federal, of course, was the head of the state. And when the tornado happened on June 2nd, was that 1990? 1990. If it had happened before that lieutenant governor had begun, Ernest would not have had a phone number to call in Indianapolis. But because they were starting to get more organized, he did have a place to call. He did have help to come into Pike County. So that was the beginning of really beginning to train the people in the state of Indiana for emergency management.
For 2 weeks prior to the tornado, Ernie was camped out in City Hall because the floodwaters broke the levee, and so and me at WFPC Radio, I was always trying to stay up on the news. So I was with Ernie and a few others in the back of Petersburg City Hall, trying to find out what was going on to report.
That's true. And what was the date of that tornado? June 2nd.
June 2nd, and the flooding was May 19th of 1990. I think it was May 19th.
And in August of that year, I walked into the town hall here in Petersburg, and the town clerk and her assistant were working on the May books because we had taken over town hall. Emergency management had taken over town hall.
Yeah.
And they were there, but they had so many emergency management people coming in and out that they couldn't keep up with their work.
Right, that was Sharon Van Meter. And it was poor Sharon and her staff.
Yes, I felt for them. Mm-hmm. I don't think I let them know it. I know that I didn't acknowledge it. But yes, they did a wonderful job, and we were interrupting their work. That is, I say we, but it was Ernest was the director.
But and we talk about it continually on this program. But you have people who if it's God's providence or whatever, that end up in these positions because they have servants' hearts and they want to help. And I always considered you and Ernie to be part of that group that just wanted to help the community.
Thank you.
So you're in the insurance business, and your dad had started that business when you were a little girl.
Yes.
And he continued it for 30 years, sold it to your brother. Your brother ended up passing it along to you.
Sort of, yes.
Sort of. What would have been a better way to say that?
I'm sorry.
You bought it from him? Your brother?
Well, yes. That's it, yes.
Okay. And insurance, that is an ever-changing business as well.
Yes. As society itself changes, then there are new things coming along. Just one example was the automobile liability. When we didn't have automobiles, we didn't have the liability, and we had them for years before the liability insurance was developed, because we began to have more automobiles on the road, faster traveling, so that accidents were more serious.
I had a claim here in the last week or so. It wasn't much, but it still involved insurance, and it's not like I called up my insurance person anymore. They just want you to text them and send the pictures through that text, and it takes the human element. I still found someone in the local office to deal with, but it just, wow, it's a different world. I know your dad told me one time, he said, you take care of your clients, big or small, you take care of your clients.
That's true, and you try to go out and look at the claim personally, but sometimes I confess that I left it up to the adjuster, because you run out of time to do everything, and the adjuster is the one who makes the final decision. But you do have to be there in case there is a problem. You have to be in touch with your client.
Thinking of your dad, first he shared with me First person he voted for president was Woodrow Wilson. Wow, I'm guessing yours was probably Franklin Roosevelt
Yes.
or Truman.
I don't know, I would have been 21 in...
47. That would have been Truman.
Yes, I think Truman was the first president that I voted for.
Okay. That's a fascinating study. What do we need to talk about? I know something. Jesus has always been a huge part of you. What do we need to talk about? What is different today than when you were growing up? You had family. You prayed together. You played together.
We did. We did not have prayer at meals, which until I was older. But we did have discussions about religion and what right from wrong, which is the basis. Religion is the basis of such teachings. Religion is not a part of government. It is a part of the individual's acceptance of Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. And that comes between the church and the individual. It is not done through the government. It is a so totally separate thing. And it is, as I said, very personal. And very, well, just very, it is sacred. Each individual's...
They've got to make that decision.
Yes.
That's between you and Jesus.
Yes. Your parents don't make it, they influence it through your upbringing. But you have to make the decision to accept Jesus Christ and to try to follow his precepts. I'm sure that I have failed many times, and I know that I have not been active enough. Currently, I'm not attending because I simply am not I'm not physically active enough to take part. As I have been, I seldom miss church until the past 2 or 3 years. And I miss the music at Easter and Christmas. It bothers me a great deal, since I used to be involved in the music in the church, playing the piano, playing the organ later on, and sometimes planning the music with the director, the song director. Occasionally, the minister might want certain songs used. I certainly wanted to know his topic before I planned the music.
Right. You've got a little coaster here.
Yes. You know, when I was in school, we did have a shop class where the boys learned to use tools, carpentry tools mainly. But that was for high school. Now, the elementary school at Winslow High School closed in 1974 when Pike Central opened. But when I was in school, we had 8 grades in a brick building where the elementary school is now, and where the gymnasium is now, we had another building that was the high school building. We had a framed separate building that was for that held some of the classes. We didn't have any fancy equipment. Now, the 5 grades in elementary, I don't know which grades, maybe just the 4th and 5th, but they have a 3D printer.
Wow.
Where they made this little Eskimo face.
That is.
And you can't tell it very much just looking at it, but it is a 3D picture.
That is great. And you're wearing your Winslow purple sweater.
Oh yes, in 2011, the Alumni Association made these available, and I get it out once or twice a year, and I decided to wear it today so you could see it.
Thank you. That's perfect occasion. Thank you. Marilee, you are a jewel. You're a gem for Pike County. What else do we need to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. There's bound to be something else, isn't there? Winslow, aside from having, I named several things that we had on Main Street, but we had a train that stopped. We had a train depot, as you went out of, I don't remember the name of the street, but you go up on Goose Hill and you turn right past the elevator, the grain elevator. As you go north out of town past the grain elevator, we had a depot on the right side of the street. And the train stopped there daily. Part of the time we had passenger service, but not all of the time. But we could ride a train to Oakland City. My first train ride was from Oakland City to Princeton. My grandmother took me to give me that ride on a train. And she lived in Oakland City, so I went from Oakland City to Princeton by train when I was about 7 or 8 years old.
Well, and it would have been smoother than the roads, I'm sure.
Yes, it was, come to think of it.
And better lights.
And better lights, yes.
Marilee, we so appreciate you coming in here and sharing stories with us. Those are great stories.
Well, it's been good reminiscing.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us for this program of WFPC Podcasting. The program is brought to you by Harris Real Estate, Hathaway Excavating and Rock Yard, and Petersburg Car Wash. Please like the podcast and share with your friends so more people can hear about WFPC. You may find WFPC Podcasting on our website, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to your favorite media. Join us next Friday for another WFPC podcast exploring the people, information, and news right here in Pike County. See you next week.
Thanks for watching WFPC Podcasting, your local source for the heart and history of Pike County, Indiana. From back roads to town centers, we bring you the voices, stories, and news that shape our community. Join us on this journey through the past, present, and future of Pike County, Indiana. Tune in next week for the next episode of WFPC Podcasting.